The streets are starving for content, and I'm going to give it to them. We got a bracket today. Every all-star guard in the NBA. Who's the best? Who contends? In a head-to-head. In this bracket, we have 14 all-star guards. We have 2 snubs. I added James Harden, and I added Jalen Brunson, the 2 biggest snubs at the guard spot in the all-star game. So we got 16. Without further ado, must we really discuss this? No. Give Paul George his flowers. Certainly not the worst guy on here. I don't choose the matchups here. It's unfortunate. Some guys just got to go early on. Shout out James Harden. He's not an all-star this year, primarily because of games played. Philly definitely one of the stronger Eastern Conference teams. Not, in my opinion, contending for a championship if you're not the Bucks or the Celtics. I'm not buying your stock, unfortunately, if you're out in that Eastern Conference, but James Harden's been doing his thing. Ja Morant, he's had some ups and downs, I guess more as a team. I mean, his production has been there, but as of the last month or so, definitely not that same Ja Morant, leader of the Grizzlies team that we saw early on when the Grizzlies were like powerhouse, one of the best teams in the league. Now they're falling off a little bit. We'll see if they can hold on to that 2 seed, but here, still gotta go Ja. One of the single most devastating slashers, drivers of the ball, one-man wrecking crew guys in the NBA, whereas James Harden definitely falling more into that number 2 in Philly, of course, with Joel Embiid, but not necessarily giving you the same level of production, especially from a scoring standpoint. I think Kyrie definitely has a greater historical footprint as a basketball player. Certainly he's been around a lot longer and just done more because he's been around longer. Donovan Mitchell's never missed the playoffs. He has absolutely delivered essentially in every scenario. We've seen him in the playoffs. Certainly the driving force for those Utah Jazz teams year in, year out, even if they don't break through to the NBA Finals. Here's a question: has Kyrie ever made the conference finals without LeBron James? That year they lost to the Bucks was the best chance in a Nets uniform. They lost to the Bucks when he was in a Celtics uniform as well, and neither of those series were conference finals series. Spida Mitchell has also not played in the conference finals, but he has always been the guy on his team. And a reminder for anybody who's confused right now, this is about who is better right now. Who would you want on your team this year? Kyrie's having a great year this year. Arguably the best fourth quarter scorer in the league right now. These guys both do pretty much the same thing on the basketball court. Small, crafty guards that can hit shots from anywhere on the court, mostly looking for their shot as opposed to their teammates, but can also facilitate and set up guys. But overall, really good matchup. And honestly, who I'm going to pick? We got to be honest though. Last several years, who's the better playoff performer? You guys go back, watch the games, or look at the numbers, whatever you want to do. Kyrie's had some tough times later in series, especially when you play the great teams, where he doesn't have the legs to hit consistently from deep. Three-point shot kind of bails on him sometimes, whereas Spida Mitchell, it feels like he's in a new gear every time I see him in the playoffs. He's hitting crazy shots, undefendable shots, stuff Kyrie should be doing. I've been a little bit disappointed how Kyrie's gone out some of the playoff series, so this is a really interesting one right here, and one I was afraid of because I love Jalen Brunson, man. But Tyrese Halliburton had this all-star appearance on lock from the beginning of the year. The way he started the season with a Pacers team that had no business winning any games. Obviously now they're not nearly what they were in the standings, fallen off a cliff since he got hurt. But yeah, he got hurt. Like, the team could not win a game without him. Jalen Brunson's been magnificent, especially right leading up into the All-Star break, playing as good of basketball as anybody in the Eastern Conference for the last 5 to 10 games, I would say. And he's been doing it all year, but especially recently. 2 guys that are more up and coming, younger talents that we just haven't seen as much of on the bigger stage, like Tyrese Halliburton, super young, hasn't even played a playoff game. Overall in his career, he's probably going to be the better player than Jalen Brunson. He's the younger player, probably more upside. At this moment, right now, I think I'm taking Jalen Brunson. He plays a physical, crafty game. He gets into the lane, just makes things happen. He's an engine that never stops running. I get you can say the same thing about Tyrese Halliburton, but he's more perimeter oriented, doing it from the outside more, as opposed to Brunson, who's now got his three-point shot going. So he's kind of a triple threat in terms of 3-level scoring. Tyrese, obviously the superior playmaker, top 5 passer in the league, I would say. But I think he is helped, even though the Pacers don't have great support around him. He is assisted in terms of spacing by a lot of these quick guards and small lineups that the Pacers play, where they can get up the court really fast. They can spread the floor out really wide, and that only helps him do what he needs to do, whereas Jalen Brunson, you could argue the offensive dynamic for the Knicks is not necessarily consistent. It's not necessarily ideal for a point guard who likes to get into the lane and kick out to shooters. how many shooters are on this team. Guys like RJ Barrett, Julius Randle sometimes want to do their own thing, kind of clog up the offense. Especially RJ Barrett. I mean, Julius Randle's obviously been great this year, deserving All-Star, but RJ Barrett kind of been a liability recently. Doesn't help a guy like Jalen Brunson necessarily. I think Tyrese Halliburton, even though the team is not great around him, and that's why his team isn't as good, it caters to him a little bit more, at least for the style of play, I think, with the surrounding players that he has. Guys like Buddy Hield who will just shoot anything. Now we are getting into the real tough questions. We're only on round 1 still. Devin Booker is proven. We saw this man drop 40 pieces back-to-back in the NBA Finals. He is ready for the moment, whatever moment it is. SGA is having a remarkable season. As good of a season as any season Devin Booker's had, I would say, probably. He will always find a way to get to the basket. He will always find a way to chop up a defense. Devin Booker, clearly the superior jump shooter. No argument there. And I guess we've just seen him do it. It's really difficult to compare a guy to another guy when we've only seen one of them lead a team in a playoff scenario against a contending team, great teams, best teams in the league, under that immense pressure. Not to say SGA can't do it, but it's just going to be really interesting to see what happens when he gets to that stage, whether it be this year, next year, whenever it is. He's going to be there, but we've just seen it with Devin Booker. And Devin Booker, he just came back from an injury shit he was doing early in the year. If he hadn't got hurt, his trajectory for MVP may still be valid. So again, this is a situation where I think SGA very possibly be the better player when it's all said and done. At this moment in time, I want Devin Booker. Shout out to De'Aaron Fox, man. Amazing season, super clutch player. Hopefully this team holds on and doesn't fucking falter and lose out on a playoff appearance, because I really want to see the Kings in that scenario. Even if they're going to lose, I just want to see them in the dance. Like, De'Aaron Fox is an awesome player, under the radar guy for a little while, and now he has a team where he can finally showcase everything that he's got. Did my last video on him. Let's not waste too much time with this. I mean, another one that, you know, gotta give credit where credit is due. Jaylen Brown, awesome player, easily number 2 option on a championship team, no doubt about it. Incredibly dynamic, 3-level scorer, get it off the dribble, off the spot up, powerhouse player, big game player, defensive player. Damian Lillard is as hot as any player in the NBA right now. Once again, just in an environment that doesn't suit a championship team at all. He is not contending for anything here and dragging a team by its tail. Dame is somehow still getting better. If you know me, you know this channel, you know I love Jrue Holiday. Deserving All-Star, best defender in this bracket. Anthony Edwards is a two-way player as well, and he has dealt with a very turbulent situation. There's been so much dysfunction in that Wolves locker room, on the court, playing with Rudy Gobert. You can see why Donovan Mitchell didn't like it. I feel like it's just the same thing with Anthony Edwards. Incredibly talented scoring guard. He's the type of guy that can supercharge a team by himself. You're seeing this team win games without Karl-Anthony Towns, who he has consistently been the guy for years in Minnesota. They never won anything, and this team is about to make the playoffs pretty much without him. And I don't really know how they're going to do when he comes back. As much shit has been thrown at Minnesota all year for this Rudy Gobert nonsense, locker room stuff, on-court fits and mishaps and whatever. They've been low-key winning games. They've been quietly putting it together. I think a Mike Conley trade, even if D'Lo's the more talented player, I think it suits the team better. Anthony Edwards had to deal with a lot this year, and he is really finding his groove right now. We're going to go Ant-Man. Round 2, battle of the slashing guards here. Unfortunately, Jalen Brunson is having a hell of a run. He's got a little ways to go to catch Ja Morant, though. See, this is the problem. I kind of wish I could customize the bracket. Why are we getting these two guys matching up right here? This needed to be the championship. This whole video is ruined. Luka might be the most talented guard in the league. He's in the conversation. I mean, Steph also, but as far as how to win games in the NBA consistently, especially playoff games, how to play a true team game, Steph Curry, he knows his role about as well as anybody I've ever seen play the game. His understanding, his experience in winning, and being a part of the Golden State Warriors, it kind of trumps everything that Luka has to me. Not to say that it's not close, not to say that it's not a discussion, but after last year, I can't put anybody above Steph Curry right now. I want to see what Luka does in the playoffs this year. I want to see what he does with a guy like Kyrie. You finally gave him the second star that he needs, or the second guy to just help him out with usage, with taking shots, handling the ball. Can't win a championship on your own. So now we have to see if he's capable of doing that. Basketball's a team game, yada, yada, yada. I'm picking Steph Curry here. I feel like both these guys are very similar players in terms of offensive juggernauts, scoring juggernauts. Dame's certainly the better playmaker here. He's certainly the better shooter here. just the way he's been playing recently, top of what we already know about the guy, I do feel like it's a little bit like cheating with Dame because he kind of doesn't have to win for us to acknowledge his greatness. He can be on the top 75 list and everybody can accept that. I guess some people maybe were a little bit upset. Oh, what has this guy done in the league besides making it to the conference finals once? He gets a pass because he stays in Portland and he's loyal. And I don't have a problem with you being loyal. I really actually appreciate that and respect that. I don't love everybody jumping teams, jumping ship, the Kevin Durant way of winning in the NBA. I don't appreciate that. Nothing wrong with leaving if your situation sucks. Like if Dame left, nobody, not a soul would blame him. But at the same time, it seems like he is comfortable, he is okay with remaining in a program or a system where nothing really improves, where his surroundings are just mediocre, they're going to be mediocre, they're never going to be great, and he's okay with that. Does that say anything about him as a basketball player on the court? Could he be the best player on a championship team? It's like an impossible question because we haven't seen a championship team built around Damian Lillard. The closest thing we had to that was like those teams with CJ, Nurkic, whatever that team was playing the Warriors in the playoffs. I mean, that still was not a championship team, no matter how you slice it. He was the only all-star. Here we got two guys that are going to be running the Western Conference for quite a while. I'm just going to go with the experience factor on this one. Like, I don't know who's going to be the better player when it's all said and done. Anthony Edwards a lot younger, a lot less experience at this moment right now. We've seen Devin Booker. Like I said, he's certified. We understand what he's made of and what he's capable of. And we got the Final Four, Damian Lillard against Devin Booker. We have never seen Damian Lillard on the final stage. But I'm not just going to use that. That's not going to be my only argument that's just going to win this for Devin Booker, because I'm not going to pick Devin Booker here. Listen, Book is great, consistently awesome player in the regular season, and so far in the playoffs, that series against Dallas last year, that was his worst moment yet. Dame has had really one flame out in the playoffs that was actually really bad that I can remember, when they played New Orleans in 2017 maybe, but he's probably more certified from a postseason perspective. Devin Booker has the 1 year. We've seen Dame do incredible things over the past decade or so in the postseason, and this one's not going to be a contest either. Ja Morant's one of the most promising young stars in the NBA today. He's still got a little ways to go. Maturity, leadership qualities, defense, but especially perimeter shooting. It's an incredible thing that Ja has been able to do, what he's been able to do on a nightly basis in the playoffs so far, 30-point games, 40-point games, what have you. But he's going to need that jumper. He doesn't have it consistently yet, doesn't have any sort of mid-range game, but if you can't make a 15, 20-foot shot, you can't make a three-point shot consistently as a point guard, it's just going to be a lot easier to guard you. And guys still can't guard him, but it's Steph Curry here. Damian Lillard, I think he's a worthy opponent for Steph, but, I mean, you guys know what happens when these guys play each other in general. One guy always has the better team, but that same guy always has the better game. In general, I feel like when they play each other, it's no contest. Neither of these guys are defensive players. Dame's not chasing Steph around, and vice versa, but Steph is the blueprint. And Dame is exceptional. He's all world, but I'm sorry. I can't go against the champ, four-time champ, finals MVP in this bracket right now. I can't do it. I haven't seen enough. So that's going to do it. That's been the All-Star Bracket. Let me know what you guys think. Probably do some more brackets soon. I kind of like these formats of videos. Bucketology. Peace.